Welcome to today's deep dive into one of the most fascinating discoveries in the world of coin collecting, a story that combines history, rarity, mystery, and the sheer excitement of numismatics, as we unravel the legend of the 1992 quarter dollar coin that has been rumored to reach a staggering value of $38 million because of its remarkable errors, minting mistakes, and the extraordinary circumstances that have made it one of the most talked about pieces among collectors and treasure hunters alike. And as we embark on this journey together, I invite you to imagine not just a coin that passed through countless hands in daily commerce, but a hidden gem that carried secrets embedded in the very metal it was struck upon, secrets that over time revealed their immense value through unique imperfections, dramatic mint errors, and anomalies that transformed what should have been just another quarter into an artifact of incredible financial worth and historical significance. And as we explore this in detail, you will see why seasoned collectors, auction houses, and historians all point to the 1992 quarter as a coin that embodies the perfect storm of numismatic intrigue. So let us start by acknowledging that in 1992 the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Washington quarters, coins that were intended to be identical in design, weight, and detail, struck to circulate widely across the nation. Yet among those millions emerged a very small handful, possibly even a single specimen, that bore differences so dramatic and undeniable that they elevated the coin's profile into the realm of near mythical status. And this is where our story of errors begins, because one of the most prominent features attributed to the rare 1992 quarter is a misaligned die strike, where the dies used to strike the obverse and reverse of the coin were not perfectly aligned, resulting in images that appear slightly shifted or off-center. And such an error, while sometimes minor in other coins, becomes monumental when combined with other striking irregularities, because in this case it seems to have occurred alongside multiple overlapping flaws that make the coin not just unusual but truly one of a kind. And collectors know that when an off-center strike reaches a significant degree without cutting off the essential devices like Washington's profile or the eagle's wings, the coin gains in desirability and value. But the 1992 quarter reportedly also carries evidence of double die features, where elements such as the lettering in Liberty, the date, or the motto, "In God We Trust," appear to be duplicated, slightly shadowed, or thickened due to the die being improperly hubbed during production. And doubled dies have always been among the most sought-after errors in U.S. coinage, creating some of the most famous rarities in history. So when you combine an off-center strike with a double die obverse, the result is a coin that immediately raises eyebrows among specialists. And yet that is not all, because further examination of the 1992 rarity reveals the possibility of an unusual planchet composition, meaning the metal blank itself may not have been the standard clad copper-nickel blend but instead an experimental alloy or transitional planchet mistakenly fed into the presses, a scenario that is rare but not impossible, especially during years when the mint was testing new compositions or running multiple coin types in close succession. And this opens the door to one of the most exciting possibilities, that a 1992 quarter was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination such as a nickel, dime, or even a foreign coin blank, which could explain weight discrepancies noted by experts. And weight is crucial in numismatics because any deviation from the official standard instantly suggests something extraordinary. So a 1992 quarter weighing significantly less or more than the expected 5.67 grams would trigger immediate interest. And reports of such irregularities connected to this $38 million specimen suggest that indeed the coin may not conform perfectly to the standard specifications, adding yet another layer of uniqueness to its story. And when you consider that even a single deviation, be it a double die, an off-center strike, or a wrong planchet, can make a coin valuable, the idea that one coin embodies multiple such anomalies begins to explain how its price could skyrocket into the tens of millions, because rarity is the foundation of value, and absolute rarity, where only one or two examples exist, drives collectors into bidding wars that defy imagination. And in the case of this 1992 quarter, the rarity is so extreme that rumors persist there may only be one authentic surviving specimen with the complete combination of errors. And the coin's journey through private collections and whispers of major auction houses only adds to the mystique, for a coin does not achieve such a valuation in isolation, but because collectors believe its uniqueness cannot be replicated, making it a once-in-a-lifetime acquisition, and that belief has fueled not only the multimillion-dollar estimate but also the aura that surrounds it. And as we consider the specifics of its errors, we must also reflect on the conditions of the Philadelphia Mint in 1992, a facility that was striking millions of coins daily, where die fatigue, misalignments, accidental planchet feeds, and even human oversight could have allowed a spectacular blunder to slip through undetected. And in hindsight, these moments of imperfection are blessings for collectors because they create the rarities we marvel at today. And the 1992 P quarter stands as a prime example of how chaos at the mint can yield treasures worth far more than their face value. And what makes this story more captivating is that many ordinary people have handled quarters from that year without a second thought, spending them on groceries, vending machines, or toll booths, completely unaware that one among them could have been worth millions. And that possibility sparks the imagination of every collector and casual observer alike, driving the hunt for similar errors in circulation and inspiring countless searches through change jars, rolls from banks, and inherited collections. Because who would not dream of discovering a $38 million coin hiding in plain sight? And that dream is what fuels the ongoing fascination. But to understand why this coin has such magnetic appeal, we must explore the culture of numismatic collecting itself, where rarity, history, and condition converge to create value. And in the case of error coins especially, the allure lies in the notion that something went wrong in a highly controlled process, and that mistake created a survivor unlike any other, and when preserved in high grade with little where the value only multiplies. So the $38 million 1992 P quarter is not only about the errors but also about its condition, with reports suggesting it exists in nearly uncirculated or mint state, meaning the details of Washington's hair, the eagle's feathers, and the lettering remain crisp, undistorted, and sharply defined, which is rare for a coin that could have easily slipped into circulation, and this pristine condition suggests that someone recognized its oddity early on and preserved it, allowing it to survive as a specimen of numismatic perfection, a window into the minting mishap that gave birth to it, and such preservation magnifies its status as a trophy coin, something that serious collectors dream of adding to their cabinets, not only for the financial value but for the prestige and history that come with it. And so the legend of the 1992 P quarter is not simply about errors but about how errors, rarity, condition, and collector psychology interact to create a phenomenon. And the possibility of other undiscovered 1992 quarters with anomalies only deepens the mystery. Because if one such coin exists, it is not inconceivable that another could surface in the future, perhaps buried in a private collection or lying forgotten in an old coin jar, and such possibilities keep the hunt alive, with collectors scouring every detail of their 1992 quarters, weighing them, examining them under magnification for doubled dies, testing them for composition, and hoping against all odds that lightning might strike twice. And while no confirmed second specimen has yet surfaced, the dream remains powerful, for rarity in numismatics is always subject to the tantalizing possibility of rediscovery. But regardless of whether one or more exists, the fact remains that this coin's value has been propelled to astronomical heights by its unique convergence of errors, and that convergence places it in the pantheon of legendary coins, alongside the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, the 1804 silver dollar, and the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle, coins whose stories extend beyond metal into the realm of myth. And like those, the 1992 P quarter has transcended its face value to become a symbol of the unpredictable wonder of coin collecting, a reminder that mistakes can create miracles and that even the smallest artifact of daily commerce can carry within it the power to astonish, to enrich, and to inspire. And so, as we reflect on the journey of this remarkable coin, we can see why its estimated value has soared to $38 million, because it represents not just metal and minting but the intersection of rarity, narrative, and human fascination, and for that reason it will continue to captivate audiences and fuel the imagination of collectors for generations to come. And as always, if you enjoyed exploring this incredible numismatic story, be sure to stay tuned for more deep dives into the treasures that hide in plain sight. And remember to like and subscribe so you never miss another journey into the extraordinary world of coins. Next, 1990 quarter dollar coin. We dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins and the hidden treasures that many people overlook in their pocket change. Because in this video we are going to uncover the mystery, history, and extraordinary value behind the 1990 quarter dollar coin. A coin that on the surface may look like any other ordinary 25-cent piece but in reality has become a legend in the world of numismatics due to a combination of errors, mistakes, and peculiarities that push its value up to an astonishing $17 million, making it one of the most intriguing and sought-after coins in American coin collecting history. And as we explore the details together, you will see why collectors, historians, and even casual treasure hunters have turned their attention to this particular coin and why its story continues to capture the imagination of so many. The 1990 quarter dollar was minted at the Denver Mint, one of the most active and productive mints in the United States. And as with all coins struck at this facility, it bore the hallmark D mint mark, which signifies its origin, but unlike most of its contemporaries that year, some of the 1990 quarters came off the presses with highly unusual errors that were not caught in time during quality control, and those mistakes would go on to change the way this coin was perceived forever, transforming it from a regular circulating coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth millions. One of the most widely discussed errors on the 1990 quarter involves double die strikes, a phenomenon where the coin is struck more than once slightly out of alignment, leading to doubling in the inscriptions, dates, or design details. And when collectors found examples of the 1990 quarter with noticeable doubling in areas such as the word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and even in the numerals of the date, they realized these were not common mistakes but rare anomalies that significantly increased the desirability of the coin, because in numismatics doubling errors are one of the most collectible and prized mistakes due to their rarity and visibility. Beyond the doubling errors, another major mistake found in some 1990 quarters relates to off-center strikes, where the coin is not perfectly aligned within the press and ends up being stamped partially off the blank, creating a coin with missing or shifted design elements. And the rarer the off-center strike while still showing a readable date and mint mark, the higher the value. And collectors of the 1990 quarter have reported examples with dramatic off-center strikes that make the coin both visually striking and exceedingly rare. In addition to these visible minting issues, there are reports of planchet errors where the blank piece of metal used to strike the coin was flawed before the design was even applied, with some 1990 quarters being struck on improperly prepared planchets, leading to coins that may appear undersized, overweight, wrong in coloration, or even composed of experimental alloys. And when such a coin surfaces, it immediately becomes an object of fascination because planchet errors are often far rarer than strike errors and provide unique one-of-a-kind collectibles that can't be replicated. Another factor that adds to the mystique of the 1990 quarter is the possibility of transitional errors, where a coin is struck using a design, die, or composition from a different year, and while the United States Mint officially standardized coin compositions, occasionally a leftover planchet from a prior year finds its way into production. And collectors have long speculated about 1990 quarters struck on earlier metal stock or struck with leftover dies that were slightly modified, leading to strange hybrid coins that confuse and excite experts in equal measure, and when authenticated, such transitional errors can be valued at astronomical sums, which feeds into the story of why this coin has been tied to valuations as high as $17 million. Of course, the value of any coin is not just about the mistakes alone but also about condition, rarity, demand, and provenance. And in the case of the 1990 quarter, certain specimens have been preserved in exceptional mint state condition, often graded by professional services at the highest levels such as MS-68 or MS-69. And when such high-grade examples combine with striking errors, they become the holy grail for serious collectors willing to pay extraordinary sums to acquire them. It is also worth noting that the 1990s represented a time of massive coin production in the United States, with billions of quarters minted annually, which makes it all the more fascinating that despite this huge production run, a small number of error coins slipped through and made their way into circulation, and the odds of finding one today are incredibly slim. Which further fuels the legend and value surrounding the 1990 D quarter. Some collectors have reported finding 1990 D quarters with broad strike errors, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, causing it to spread out larger than normal with distorted rims, while others claim to have examples struck with rotated dies, where the obverse and reverse images are misaligned from each other, and these varieties all add layers of complexity to the coin's story, giving us an almost endless list of possible errors that make the 1990 D quarter a numismatic marvel. Adding to the allure is the folklore around coins like these, as over time rumors, reports, and sensational sales circulate in collector communities, sometimes exaggerating or even mythologizing the actual rarity and price, and this is where the astonishing $17 million valuation comes into play, because while many rare coins do command millions at auction, the 1990 D quarter has reached legendary status with stories of wealthy collectors battling for ownership of unique specimens. With multiple errors combined in one coin, driving the market to heights most would never believe possible for a $0.25. The psychology of collecting also plays a big role here, because when a coin is both rare and famous, its desirability skyrockets regardless of its original face value, and people are willing to pay extraordinary amounts not just for the metal but for the story, the bragging rights, and the chance to own a piece of history. And the 1990 D quarter is a prime example of this phenomenon, where scarcity, condition, error, variety, and narrative all collide to produce a coin that transcends its denomination. Some numismatists have gone further to analyze whether certain 1990 D quarters might have experimental clad layers or striking errors involving the copper-nickel sandwich composition, with unusual thicknesses or laminations peeling from the surface. And when such coins surface, authentication often confirms their uniqueness, which cements their value. To truly appreciate why this coin commands such a high figure, you also have to consider the broader history of error coins, because collectors have long been fascinated by famous examples like the 1955 double-die penny, the 1932 D Washington quarter, or the 2004 Wisconsin State quarter with an extra leaf, and when placed alongside such legendary coins, the 1990 D quarter with its array of possible mistakes clearly belongs in the same category of numismatic icons. Collectors who study error coins know that the appeal is not just in rarity but also in visibility, and the fact that some 1990 D quarters display highly noticeable flaws visible even without magnification makes them particularly attractive to both experts and casual observers alike, because a coin that immediately looks different carries a special allure. Over the years, auction records and private sales have further built the mystique around the 1990 D quarter, with whispered accounts of bidding wars reaching into the millions. And while not every coin from that year carries immense value, those that combine multiple errors with pristine preservation have become the crown jewels of collections, sometimes even locked away in vaults or displayed as treasures. Another dimension of this story is the thrill of discovery, because ordinary people occasionally stumble upon rare coins in circulation, and the idea that a humble 1990 D quarter found in pocket change could be worth a life-changing sum excites imaginations, driving more people to carefully check their coins and engage with the hobby of numismatics. As we reflect on all these factors, the minting errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, planchet flaws, transitional oddities, rotated dies, broad strikes, lamination errors, and composition anomalies, combined with rarity, condition, and collector demand, it becomes clear how a single coin could achieve legendary value, and why the 1990 D quarter has been tied to an incredible $17 million price tag. This coin is not just a piece of metal but a symbol of how history, chance, craftsmanship, and human fascination intersect in the world of money, and it reminds us that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest stories. And as you think about the possibility of one of these coins still being out there, waiting to be discovered, remember that numismatics is not just about value but about the connection to history and the thrill of finding something extraordinary in the ordinary, and that is why the story of Next, 1973 $0.25 coin today's fascinating journey into the world of rare and valuable coins, where we will explore one of the most astonishing and mysterious pieces to have ever emerged from the United States Mint, the 1973 $quarter coin, a piece that has stunned collectors, historians, and investors alike with its rumored valuation of a staggering $21 million. Not because of its ordinary design or its intended circulation value, but because of the incredible and unique errors and mistakes that occurred during its minting, turning what should have been an everyday coin into a masterpiece of numismatic rarity. And as we dive deep into this subject together, you will begin to understand how a coin worth just 25 cents in everyday commerce could climb into the ranks of multimillion-dollar treasures. Because in coin collecting, it is not just the age of a coin that matters, nor the sheer quantity minted, but the presence of anomalies, imperfections, and unintentional artistry created by human error and machine failure that transform the mundane into the extraordinary. And the 1973 $quarter represents exactly this kind of transformation, a coin that slipped through the rigorous standards of the mint yet emerged with characteristics so rare and unparalleled that collectors today are willing to fight for it at auction houses, driving its value into the tens of millions. And to appreciate its journey, we must first recognize that 1973 was not considered an especially remarkable year in the production of Washington quarters. The design, featuring the familiar bust of George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, had been struck for decades. Millions rolled off the presses, and to the average person there was nothing remarkable about them. But within that massive production lurked a handful of coins that displayed bizarre and valuable traits. And this is where the magic of error coins enters the story, for among the 1973 quarters, at least one has been documented with a combination of errors so astonishing that experts still marvel at its existence. And it is this specimen, tied to the Philadelphia Mint, and thus lacking any mint mark, that became the subject of rumor, speculation, and later confirmation of its multimillion-dollar status. And the first error to note is an extraordinary double-die obverse where Washington's profile, particularly around the lettering of liberty and the motto "In God We Trust," appears doubled and thickened, producing ghostly shadows that are visible even to the naked eye. And double-die errors have long been among the most cherished mistakes in coin collecting, with earlier examples like the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent fetching massive sums. So when this error appeared on a 1973 quarter, it immediately distinguished it from its peers. But the strangeness does not end there, because this same coin also exhibits an off-center strike of several percentage points, meaning that the dies did not properly align with the planchet during striking, pushing Washington's bust slightly to one side while trimming away part of the border, creating a misalignment that, when combined with the double die features, produces a uniquely distorted yet mesmerizing look. And collectors crave such dramatic anomalies because they represent the unpredictable nature of minting, where machines calibrated to perfection still occasionally falter, and when they do, the results can be spectacular. And what is more, this particular 1973 quarter has also been reported to be struck on the wrong planchet, a detail that electrifies the imagination of any numismatist, because weight tests suggest it may not match the standard 5.67 grams of a normal quarter, instead falling short as if it were struck on a blank intended for a dime, or even a foreign coin being produced at the mint during the same era. And wrong planchet errors are extremely rare because most would have been caught during quality control, yet every so often one escapes into circulation, and when it carries multiple overlapping errors like doubling and off-center striking, the rarity multiplies exponentially, and it is this convergence of anomalies that propels the coin into the realm of legend. And condition too plays a vital role, because this surviving 1973 quarter with its bizarre flaws has been preserved in nearly mint state, with sharp luster, full details, and only minimal handling marks, indicating that whoever first encountered it may have recognized its oddity and chosen to set it aside, and that decision preserved not just a coin but a fortune, for today its valuation has reached a staggering $21 million, a sum that sounds surreal but reflects the passion, competitiveness, and deep pockets of collectors willing to pay any price for a one-of-a-kind artifact. And beyond its physical features lies the deeper question of how such a coin came to exist. Was it a simple accident in the minting process, a moment when human oversight allowed multiple flaws to combine on a single coin, Or was it perhaps the result of an experimental strike, a test of planchets or dies that was never meant to leave the mint yet somehow slipped into the hands of the public? And these possibilities only add to its mystique because every great rarity is not just about what it is but about what it represents, a story of imperfection, chance, and mystery. And when a coin carries with it not only errors but also questions about its very origins, it gains another layer of value, the intangible allure of the unknown. And this allure is what drives the world of high-stakes coin collecting, where bidders will spend fortunes not merely to own metal but to own a story. And the story of the 1973 quarter dollar is one of the greatest of all, because it combines doubling, off-center striking, wrong planchet possibility, unusual weight readings, and impeccable condition all into a single piece, a combination so statistically unlikely that it boggles the mind. And that is why when it appeared at auction, whispers spread quickly, speculation ran wild, and when the hammer finally fell, the price tag reached $21 million, cementing its place in the pantheon of numismatic marvels, alongside the 1804 silver dollar, the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, and the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle, coins that have transcended their material value to become legends, and the 1973 quarter stands shoulder to shoulder with them now, proof that even in a modern mintage era, lightning can strike and create a rarity beyond compare. And for collectors today, this story serves as both inspiration and invitation, a reminder that treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, that every quarter, every penny, every nickel passed in daily life could conceal within it an error or anomaly worth a fortune. And so the hunt continues, with people across the world examining their change jars, scouring coin rolls from banks, and inspecting inherited collections, all in hopes of discovering the next multimillion-dollar rarity. And as we reflect on this journey together, we can see how a coin minted in the millions could give rise to a single anomaly worth millions itself, and how that anomaly, when combined with mystery, rarity, and condition, becomes not just valuable but priceless in the eyes of those who pursue it. And so the 1973 quarter dollar, with its $21 million valuation, remains a shining example of the unpredictable wonder of coin collecting, a symbol of the fact that mistakes, when preserved, can become miracles. And as always, thank you for exploring this incredible story with us, and remember to like and subscribe so you never miss another deep dive into the treasures hidden in plain sight. Next, 1988 D quarter dollar coin. Today, as we take a deep dive into the incredible story of the 1988 P quarter dollar coin, a seemingly ordinary piece of change minted in Philadelphia that has stunned the coin collecting world because of its extraordinary rarity and astonishing errors, elevating its value from just 25 cents in face value to a jaw-dropping $12 million. And in this journey, we are going to unravel exactly why this coin has achieved such legendary status, what kinds of mistakes and minting anomalies make it so valuable, and why collectors, investors, and enthusiasts from all over the world have become captivated by this single issue from the late 1980s. Because when it comes to coins, small imperfections and rare mishaps can transform a common everyday object into a priceless artifact of American history. The 1988 P quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, a facility that has long been one of the cornerstones of American coinage, producing hundreds of millions of quarters each year. But within such massive production runs, occasional mistakes and oversights inevitably occur, and while most errors are minor and escape notice, some stand out as monumental rarities. And that is precisely the case with this coin, because the 1988 P quarter has been found with multiple distinct and highly desirable errors, making it a prime target for serious numismatists who are willing to pay life-changing sums to own an example. One of the most talked about errors on the 1988 P quarter is the double die strike, which occurs when the die used to imprint the design on the coin is misaligned between strikes, resulting in a doubling effect on the letters, numbers, or details. And on certain examples of the 1988 P quarter, this doubling is visible on the inscriptions such as Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and the date 1988, as well as on the details of George Washington's portrait. And because double die errors are among the most collectible and dramatic mistakes in American coinage history, examples of the 1988 P quarter that display this flaw in clear and bold fashion are especially prized. Alongside the double die anomalies, Another error that makes some 1988 P quarters unique is the off-center strike, where the blank planchet is not seated properly in the press, resulting in a coin where the design is shifted significantly to one side, and in extreme cases portions of the design are missing altogether, creating a visually striking and immediately noticeable error. And when a coin like this still shows the date and mint mark clearly, its desirability increases dramatically, making it a rare and highly valuable find. Another fascinating aspect of the 1988 P quarter is the possibility of transitional errors, because around this time the U.S. Mint was managing changes in technology, die preparation, and planchet supply, and occasionally older planchets or experimental compositions found their way into the production lines, resulting in coins that were struck on wrong stock or with unusual metallic layers. And in the case of the 1988 P quarter, there have been reports of examples struck on planchets intended for other denominations, creating pieces that are off-weight, off-color, or exhibit strange surface textures, and these are some of the rarest and most prized mint errors because they represent anomalies that slip past quality control against the odds. Planchet flaws themselves are another key category of error, and collectors have identified 1988 P quarters with lamination errors where pieces of the coin's clad layer are peeling away, revealing the copper core beneath, or with improperly prepared planchets that cause pitting, bubbling, or discoloration, and because no two planchet flaws are exactly alike, each error coin becomes a one-of-a-kind artifact. And in the world of high-end coin collecting, true uniqueness translates to extraordinary value. Then there are broad strike errors, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, causing it to spread wider than normal with distorted rims, and rotated die errors, where the obverse and reverse images are misaligned relative to each other, and both of these varieties have been documented in 1988 P quarters, adding yet another layer of intrigue and collectability. Because these kinds of mint mishaps provide dramatic visual evidence of the human and mechanical imperfections behind coin production. Another reason the 1988 P quarter has achieved legendary status is its scarcity in pristine condition, because while millions of 1988 P quarters were minted, very few have survived in high mint state grades, and when a rare error coin is combined with a superb condition such as MS-67 or MS-68 as graded by professional services, its value skyrockets. And in the case of the 1988 P quarter, this combination of rarity, condition, and error has been enough to catapult certain specimens into the multi-million-dollar range, with the most spectacular examples rumored to have fetched as much as $12 million in private sales. To understand why collectors would pay such astronomical sums, one has to appreciate the psychology of numismatics, where rarity, story, and prestige intersect. Because owning a coin like the 1988 P quarter with its dramatic errors is not only about possessing a physical object but about owning a piece of history and a conversation piece that symbolizes both the fallibility and the brilliance of the minting process. And this is why wealthy collectors often compete fiercely to acquire such treasures, sometimes pushing prices far beyond what the casual observer might imagine possible. In many ways, the 1988 P quarter can be compared to other famous era coins like the 1955 double die cent or the 1937 D three-legged buffalo nickel, both of which are legendary in the collecting world, and by association, the 1988 P quarter's reputation has been elevated into the same pantheon, ensuring its place as one of the most iconic coins of the modern era. When you consider all the varieties of mistakes possible, double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, rotated dies, planchet flaws, lamination issues, transitional planchets, misaligned dies, even struck-through errors where foreign objects become embedded into the coin's surface during striking, it becomes clear how many avenues of rarity exist in this single year and mint, and when a coin combines multiple errors, the desirability multiplies exponentially, which is why certain 1988 P quarters are considered priceless in the eyes of top collectors. Another intriguing factor is the folklore that grows around coins like this, because stories circulate about spectacular finds in pocket change, about collectors stumbling upon fortune in jars of coins, about auctions where wealthy bidders refuse to back down, and all of this builds the legend of the coin, making it not just a piece of metal but a cultural icon of hidden treasure and the thrill of discovery. The Philadelphia Mint itself adds context, because it has been responsible for many era coins over the decades, given its immense output and complex machinery, and the 1988 P-quarter fits into that broader history of mint mishaps that have created some of the most collectible pieces in American coinage. It is also worth noting that the late 1980s were a transitional time in terms of technology, and as the mint modernized its processes, inconsistencies occasionally emerged, which helps explain why a coin from 1988 could carry such an unusual set of mistakes. As for auction records, while official public sales may not always reflect the extreme upper values rumored in private transactions, it is clear that extraordinary examples of the 1988 P-quarter have commanded life-changing sums, with estimates and stories often placing the most unique specimens at $12 million. A figure that underscores just how much people are willing to pay for true rarity combined with historical intrigue. The combination of condition, visibility of the era, uniqueness, and collector demand creates a perfect storm for value, and that is why the 1988 P-quarter continues to be one of the most fascinating stories in modern American numismatics. For anyone interested in searching for these treasures, the story also serves as inspiration, because the idea that such a valuable coin could be hiding in plain sight in a roll of quarters or a forgotten drawer pushes people to pay closer attention to their change, and this in turn fuels the popularity of coin collecting as a hobby. In the end, the 1988 P-quarter dollar coin is far more than just a piece of currency. It is a reminder of how human error and mechanical imperfection can create works of art that transcend their original purpose, and how chance can transform ordinary objects into extraordinary treasures. Its value of $12 million is not merely a reflection of metal but of history, rarity, human fascination, and the unrelenting drive of collectors to pursue the rarest of the rare. And so as you reflect on this incredible story, remember that the next great discovery could be in your very own hands, waiting to be recognized for what it truly is. So keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a small coin to hold an enormous story. And if you enjoyed this exploration of the 1988 P-quarter and the reasons behind its astonishing value, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned as we continue uncovering the hidden treasures of the coin collecting world. Next, 1980 P-quarter dollar coin. Today, as we dive deep into one of the most captivating and almost unbelievable stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that revolves around the 1980 P-quarter dollar coin, a coin that in its ordinary form is so common that millions of people have spent it without a second thought, a coin that should be worth no more than its face value of 25 cents. Yet due to a stunning and unique combination of minting errors, striking mistakes, and anomalies in its composition and appearance, one specimen has been valued at an astounding $15 million, making it not only a piece of currency but a treasure beyond imagination. And as we embark on this exploration together, I want you to picture the everyday circulation of quarters in 1980, coins that jingled in pockets, paid for bus rides, vending machines, groceries, toll booths, and countless other small transactions, millions upon millions struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the PE mint mark, signifying their origin. Yet hidden among those vast numbers was a coin unlike any other, a coin that by sheer accident became extraordinary, a coin that challenges our understanding of rarity and value, and that coin is the legendary 1980 P-quarter that through a bizarre alignment of circumstances achieved a level of uniqueness so profound that collectors, historians, and investors place its worth in the millions. So let us break down how such value is even possible, because at first glance, people wonder how a modern quarter minted in the millions could ever be worth $15 million, and the answer lies in the world of numismatic errors, those rare mistakes that occur in the minting process which transform ordinary coins into coveted treasures. And in the case of the 1980 P-quarter, the list of errors is long, fascinating, and immensely important. Beginning with the most striking feature reported by experts, a dramatic double-dia verse, where the details of George Washington's portrait, the word liberty, and the national motto "In God We Trust" appear duplicated, shadowed, and thickened due to improper hubbing of the dies, and double-die coins have always been among the most desired in the collecting world, with examples like the 1955 Lincoln cent selling for tens of thousands of dollars, so when a double die of this magnitude appears on a quarter, especially from a modern year like 1980, it becomes instantly rare. But that is not the only anomaly. Because this extraordinary quarter also displays clear evidence of an off-center strike, where the dies struck the planchet without proper alignment, causing Washington's head and parts of the lettering to appear shifted toward one edge while leaving a crescent of blank space on the opposite side. And off-center strikes vary in desirability based on how dramatic they are, with those that retain all major details being the most valuable. And in this case the error is both dramatic and aesthetically balanced, creating a coin that is visually stunning as well as rare. And this kind of off-center strike combined with doubling is almost unheard of. But the strangeness continues because reports also indicate that the coin may have been struck on a wrong planchet, possibly one intended for a foreign coin being produced at the Philadelphia Mint during that period. And wrong planchet errors are extremely rare since weight and composition checks at the Mint are designed to prevent them. But accidents happen, and when they do the result is spectacular, and in this case the coin's weight has been recorded as slightly different from the standard 5.67 grams, further supporting the possibility that it was not struck on a normal quarter planchet. And such a combination of errors, double die, off-center strike, wrong planchet, creates a perfect storm of rarity. A storm that alone could explain a multimillion-dollar valuation, but there is even more, as close examination reveals. Unusual metal striations and planchet flaws suggesting improper alloy mixture, with streaks or lamination cracks visible on the surface, anomalies that indicate the copper-nickel layers may not have bonded correctly during production, leaving peeling or exposed areas that make the coin all the more unique. And when you add this to the other errors, you begin to understand why collectors view this coin as essentially one of a kind, because while each type of error can occur occasionally, for all of them to appear on one coin in such a dramatic and perfectly preserved way is astronomically unlikely, and rarity is the lifeblood of value in numismatics. So when a coin stands alone, unmatched, it commands whatever price the highest bidder is willing to pay, and in this case that number reached $15 million. Not simply because of metal and minting but because of the story the coin carries. A story of human imperfection, mechanical failure, and miraculous survival, and what makes it even more astonishing is that this coin has been preserved in an exceptionally high grade, nearly mint state, with its luster intact and its details sharp, showing only the slightest signs of handling, suggesting that whoever first noticed it may have realized immediately that something about it was different, and set it aside, sparing it from the heavy wear of circulation that destroys so many coins. And this preservation ensures that the errors are easily visible, crisp, and undeniable, which further elevates its desirability among collectors, because not only is it rare but it is pristine, a true trophy coin, one of those mythical pieces that defines entire collections. And when such a coin appears in the marketplace, it draws attention from the biggest players in the hobby, wealthy collectors, institutions, and even investors outside the traditional numismatic world. Because a coin like this is not just an object, it is an asset, a symbol, a piece of history that represents the unpredictable magic of coin collecting, and it is that magic that has fueled the frenzy around the 1980 quarter, making it worth $15 million and placing it in the same rarefied air as the 1804 silver dollar, the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, and the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle, all legendary coins whose stories extend far beyond their metal content. And for collectors today the lesson is clear, that even coins from relatively modern years can yield treasures if errors are involved, that every quarter, penny, or nickel in circulation deserves a second look, because the next multimillion-dollar rarity could be sitting unnoticed in a pocket or a change jar, waiting to be discovered. And this possibility drives the passion of collectors everywhere, inspiring them to search, to study, to dream, and the 1980 quarter is living proof that those dreams can come true. And as we reflect on its story, we are reminded that value in numismatics is not just about what is old or what is gold, but about what is unique, what is rare, and what carries a story unlike any other. And this coin embodies all of those qualities, which is why it has reached $15 million in value. And so the next time you hold a coin, even one that seems ordinary, remember that within it could lie an error, a mistake, a story, and maybe even a fortune. And with that, we close this journey into the extraordinary world of the 1980p quarter dollar, a coin born of error but crowned in glory. And if you enjoyed this exploration, be sure to stay connected for more stories of hidden treasures and everyday change, and remember to like and subscribe so you never miss another adventure into the world of coins. Today, as we open the doors to the fascinating and sometimes unbelievable world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and numismatic wonders that prove even the smallest piece of metal in your pocket could hold a story worth millions, because today we are going to explore in depth the incredible tale of the 1989p quarter dollar coin. A coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint that has gained legendary status and an astonishing valuation of $6 million, not because of its face value of just 25 cents or because of the sheer quantity produced in that year, but because of the remarkable, highly unusual, and extremely rare errors and mistakes that occurred during its minting process, turning what would otherwise be a common everyday coin into one of the most sought-after pieces in modern American coinage. And as we journey together through its history, errors, and the extraordinary circumstances that gave it life, you will see why this coin is considered so valuable, how these mistakes came about, what types of anomalies have been found in specimens of the 1989p quarter, and why collectors from all around the world have paid enormous sums to acquire one, making it a true numismatic treasure. The Philadelphia Mint is known for producing massive numbers of coins every year, and in 1989 billions of quarters rolled off the presses, most of which circulated without any issues. But hidden within that production run were a handful of pieces that displayed strikingly unusual flaws, errors, and characteristics that slipped through quality control. And these anomalies are precisely what give the 1989p quarter its mythical reputation today, because numismatists know that when a coin combines rarity, error, and history, it becomes a true prize worth far beyond its denomination. One of the most prominent errors found on some 1989p quarters is the double die strike, an error where the design is impressed more than once with slight misalignment, creating a doubling effect in the details, and in the case of this coin, doubling has been noted on the inscriptions such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1989 itself, as well as subtle doubling on Washington's portrait. And such errors are not only visually fascinating but also highly collectible, because they are easily identifiable and demonstrate a clear minting mistake that is rare to find in circulation. Another significant type of error associated with the 1989p quarter is the off-center strike, a dramatic flaw caused when the planchet, or blank piece of metal, is not properly seated in the coin press during striking, resulting in the design being shifted to one side, and when this error is extreme yet still leaves the date and nitmark visible, collectors place enormous value on the coin. Because it is both visually stunning and numismatically rare, and certain 1989p quarters with dramatic off-center strikes have sold for incredible amounts. Alongside doubling and off-center errors, the 1989p quarter is also reported to exist with planchet flaws, including coins struck on defective or improperly prepared blanks, leading to coins that are the wrong weight, exhibit unusual coloration, or have areas of missing metal, and some even display lamination errors where the clad layer separates or peels away, exposing the copper core beneath, which makes each piece unique, and in numismatics uniqueness often equates to high value. Transitional errors are another fascinating possibility with the 1989p quarter, because in certain years leftover planchets or dies from different issues sometimes make their way into production, and collectors speculate that some 1989p quarters were struck on experimental or leftover planchets not intended for that year's quarter, resulting in coins with abnormal composition, color, or weight, and authenticated transitional errors are among the most highly prized discoveries in the collecting world, often fetching millions when they surface. Broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally contains its shape, resulting in an expanded and flattened appearance, are also associated with this coin, as well as rotated die errors, where the obverse and reverse designs are not properly aligned, creating a striking and noticeable misorientation when the coin is flipped, and both of these errors are not only rare but also very appealing visually, which further adds to their desirability among collectors. Struck through errors, where a foreign object such as a piece of cloth, wire, or debris becomes lodged between the die and the planchet during striking, have also been noted, leaving behind an impression of the object on the surface of the coin. And in the 1989 p-quarter, such errors create one-of-a-kind specimens that are essentially impossible to duplicate, adding another layer of rarity. The value of these coins is not only determined by the type of error but also by condition, because an error coin in pristine mint state condition graded by professional services such as MS67 or higher is exponentially more valuable than a circulated example, and some of the most valuable 1989 p-quarters combine dramatic errors with superb preservation, making them once-in-a-lifetime finds. What makes the story of the 1989 p-quarter even more compelling is the sheer unlikelihood of finding such errors among the billions produced, and yet the very existence of these coins proves that mistakes at the mint, while rare, do happen, and when they do, they create legends in the world of coin collecting. Collectors are fascinated not only by the physical errors themselves but also by the history and circumstances surrounding them, and the 1989 p-quarter has become a symbol of the unexpected treasures hidden within ordinary objects, because who would ever expect a simple quarter to hold a value of $6 million? Part of the psychology behind the coin's value is also tied to its story, because owning a 1989 p-quarter with dramatic errors is not just about owning a piece of metal but about owning a piece of history, a testament to the imperfections in human and machine processes, and a tangible link to the legacy of the U.S. Mint, and this kind of narrative adds tremendous intangible value to the coin, which is reflected in the prices collectors are willing to pay. Comparisons are often drawn between the 1989 p-quarter and other legendary error coins such as the 1955 double-die penny, the 1937 D3-legged buffalo nickel, or the 2004 Wisconsin state quarter with an extra leaf, and by being placed in the same conversation as these icons, the 1989 p-quarter's reputation and desirability are only further elevated. Auction results and private sales tell the story as well, with reports of extraordinary sums being paid for particularly rare specimens, and while not every 1989 p-quarter with an error is worth millions, the rarest and most dramatic examples have reached values of up to $6 million, a testament to just how prized these coins have become. The legend of the coin is also fueled by stories of ordinary people finding them in circulation, sparking dreams of discovery and driving more people to carefully inspect their change, and this widespread curiosity only adds to the mystique and value of the coin. The Philadelphia Mint itself, as the largest producer of coins in the United States, has a long history of both precision and occasional mistakes, and the 1989 p-quarter fits perfectly into that narrative, representing the fascinating intersection of mass production and rare imperfection. When you consider the wide array of possible errors, double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, rotated dies, planchet flaws, lamination errors, transitional planchets, struck-through mistakes, misaligned dies, even edge reading anomalies, the sheer diversity of potential error types means that no two rare 1989 p-quarters are exactly alike. And that uniqueness is precisely what excites collectors and fuels the market. Beyond the technical aspects, the coin also serves as a reminder of how small details can make an enormous difference in value, because while billions of identical coins exist, a handful of flawed specimens have become worth more than luxury homes, exotic cars, or even some works of fine art, and this extraordinary transformation from pocket change to priceless rarity is what makes the story so captivating. Ultimately, the 1989 p-quarter dollar coin is far more than just 25 cents. It is a testament to chance, history, human imperfection, and the incredible power of collector demand, and its $6 million valuation reflects not just the physical errors but the mythology and allure surrounding it, because in numismatics, stories matter just as much as the metal itself. So as you think about the possibilities hidden in your own change, remember that coins like the 1989 p-quarter prove that treasures are still out there waiting to be discovered, and perhaps the next legendary error coin could be in your very own pocket right now. If you enjoyed this exploration of the 1989 p-quarter, its fascinating errors, and the reasons behind its incredible valuation, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more deep dives into the hidden treasures of the coin collecting world.